Weird facts about history. Napoleon's wife had a friend who was known as government property because she had banged so many ministers of state. Machiavelli wrote a letter to his friend about how he slept with a prostitute, then threw up all over her when the lights came on because she was so ugly. Julie d'Aubigny was a famous 17th century French opera singer who once took the holy vows to enter a convent just so she could sleep with a nun. She also had a habit of seducing women at parties which would lead their husbands to challenge her to a duel. She was an expert duelist and killed a few men like this. Victor Hugo, the romantic writer, slept with so many prostitutes that on the day he died, all the brothels in Paris were closed because so many of the prostitutes took the day off to mourn him.
The story of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, begins in the city of Mecca, where he was born in 570 CE to the tribe of Quraysh. As a young man, he became known for his honesty, integrity, and trustworthiness, and gained the nickname Al-Amin, the trustworthy. He married Khadijah, a prominent businesswoman, and began to receive revelations from Allah at the age of 40. Prophet Muhammad's early preaching of the message of Islam was met with resistance from the people of Mecca, who were reluctant to abandon their polytheistic beliefs. Despite persecution and opposition, the Prophet and his followers continued to spread the message of Islam, calling people to worship Allah alone and follow his commands. In 622 CE, after years of persecution, the Prophet and his followers migrated to the city of Medina, where he established the first Islamic state. This event, known as the Hijra, marks the beginning of the Islamic calendar. In Medina, the Prophet's leadership and guidance led to the unification of various tribes and communities under the banner of Islam and the establishment of a just and equitable society. The Prophet led various military campaigns and battles, including the famous Battle of Badr and the Battle of Uhud, where he demonstrated his bravery and steadfastness. He also made peace treaties with the people of Mecca, including the Treaty of Hudaybiyah in 628 CE, which established peace between the Muslims and their opponents.
This is the end of the first part of this video. Make sure to follow for more content.
3 disturbing facts about historical figures that school kept from you. The third one is shocking. Number 3. Charlie Chaplin met his future wife when she was 12, and he was 31. They first crossed paths on the set of the movie The Kid in 1920. 4 years later, due to Lita Gray's pregnancy, they got married when she was only 16 years old. Their turbulent union eventually resulted in one of the most expensive divorces of their time. Number 2. Steve Jobs denied his daughter was his and fought against paying child support even after paternity tests proved he was the father. Lisa Brennan Jobs was born in 1978. At the time, Jobs denied his paternity despite the evidence, even claiming to be sterile. He also tried to avoid paying child support, leading to a lengthy legal battle. Number 1. Mother Teresa encouraged sick patients to suffer but went straight to the hospital when she was ill. She is regarded by many as a saint for her dedication to helping the poor and sick in India. She believed suffering was a gift from God and encouraged her patients to accept it as a way to get closer to Jesus. However, when she herself fell ill with heart problems, she chose to get treated in modern hospitals.
Today in history, July 8th, 1497, the Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama set sail from Lisbon leading a bold crew of 170 men across 4 ships on an expedition like no other. Their destination? The mystical and wealthy lands of India aimed to be reached not over land, but uncharted seas. The journey is dangerous. From maneuvering down Africa's west coast, circumnavigating Cape of Good Hope, to crossing the vast Indian Ocean. Their courage tested by treacherous waters and political turmoil, they finally anchor in Calicut, May 1498. This remarkable endeavor opens a direct sea route from Europe to Asia, breaking the Venetian monopoly on the lucrative spice trade and catapulting Portugal into a new epoch of global exploration and influence.
This American woman killed 300 people in one day. In the quiet town of Goobersville, Indiana, in 1949, a woman named Aileen G. Anus was the beloved lunch lady at Sunnydale High. For 20 years, Aileen served meals with a smile. But one morning, she had other plans. She laced the school's water supply with a colorless, odorless poison. By noon, students and staff began collapsing. Chaos erupted. The hospital was overwhelmed. Parents rushed to the school in panic. As sirens wailed, Aileen calmly walked home humming a cheerful tune. The death toll rose to 352 lives lost. An entire generation of Sunnydale gone. Aileen was found in her kitchen, baking cookies and listening to the radio. Her only words upon arrest, "I was saving them from the pain of living." Investigators later discovered 20 years' worth of journals detailing her plans. The Sunnydale massacre remains one of the deadliest single-day killings. In 1954, police decided to investigate her home more. They decided to break the walls, and what they found there was truly horrifying.
Here are some crazy facts about ancient Egyptians. Women in ancient Egypt who worked in the weaving industry were entitled to take days off during their menstrual period, acknowledging the need for rest and cleanliness, a rather progressive practice for his time. Ancient Egyptians had a form of tipping at banquets called ha, meaning please, where they would give money and gifts to the servants in hopes of ensuring better service. The Tarkan dress is considered the oldest woven garment in the world, dating back over 5,000 years. Found in a First Dynasty tomb at Tarkan, an Egyptian cemetery, it signifies the sophistication of fashion even in ancient times. Egyptians invented the pin tumbler lock, a type of lock that is still in use today. These were quite sophisticated, made of wood, and used keys also made of wood. Ancient Egyptians were among the first to identify and document different brain parts and their functions, understanding that it was involved in sensation and movement.
The history you've been taught is all a big lie. Before the civilization we have today, there was another civilization that's been hidden from us. This civilization was far more advanced than us, but in a different way. They had harnessed the ability to use atmospheric energy. They incorporated it into all of their buildings and were able to create free energy for everyone at all times. They had also harnessed the power of frequencies and were able to build grand architecture by manipulating substances and moving huge rocks through vibration. Hence the Great Pyramids and many other unexplainable architectural anomalies that were created in the past. The free energy was a threat to the massive oil industry and all the profits they were able to generate from the scarcity of oil. So the owners of this industry, who were extremely powerful, created a plan to take out this civilization and wipe them from history so nobody would ever know about free energy. They destroyed all their architecture and technology. This civilization was called Tartaria.
What was the first empire in history? The title of the first empire in history is often attributed to the Akkadian Empire, established by Sargon of Akkad around 2334 BCE. The Akkadian Empire emerged in the Mesopotamian region, which encompasses present-day Iraq and parts of Syria and Turkey. Sargon is celebrated for his military conquests that unified the Sumerian city-states of southern Mesopotamia, as well as extending Akkadian control over a vast territory that included much of Mesopotamia, parts of the Levant, and Anatolia. The Akkadian Empire is considered the world's first empire because it was the first state to rule over a multi-ethnic, multicultural population under a centralized government. The empire is known for its advancements in the arts, administration, and the Akkadian language, which became the lingua franca of the region for centuries. The Akkadian Empire's influence waned, and it eventually collapsed around 2154 BCE, due to a combination of internal strife, economic difficulties, and invasions by the Gutians, a people from the Zagros Mountains.
Disturbing facts about history. Queen Elizabeth I was so obsessed with sugar, her teeth started to rot while she was still alive. Most people had a very hard time understanding her. A lady named Mary Croft convinced doctors she was pregnant with rabbits. She placed parts of dead animals into her stomach and reproductive area to make the birth seem as realistic as possible. During the construction of the film center of the Cultural Center of the Philippines, a scaffolding accident caused 169 construction workers to be buried alive in the wet, quick-drying cement. Many of these bodies are still buried. Joan of Arc was burned to death as a heretic. They burned her body 3 whole times to make sure there was nothing left of her. When King Henry VIII died, his coffin began to leak. The next morning, it was found that a stray dog had got into the chapel and was licking up the putrid matter from the floor beneath the coffin. He allegedly exploded shortly after being placed into the chapel.
The world's greatest unsolved mysteries. The last one will shock you. There is an area in Mexico called the Zone of Silence where phones don't work. Radios hear only static and meteorites fall. This mysterious area has baffled scientists for years, and no one can come to a conclusion as to why these things happen. There is someone who wants to be more than just friends with you. It is the third person who appears when you click Share Then Messenger. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon. This ancient wonder of the world was multiple stories tall with running water and an innumerable amount of trees and plants built in the middle of the desert. The only problem is no proof of its existence has ever been found. Some historians think the whole thing is a myth. What do you think? Comment your theory. Before the last mystery, please support us by pressing the follow button to enjoy new videos daily. In 1513, an Ottoman admiral created a scarily accurate world map. This map depicted the entire Mediterranean with detail that wouldn't be seen again for hundreds of years. Even more bizarre is the map even shows Antarctica. The only problem is that Antarctica wasn't officially discovered until 300 years later. Weird historical facts. Lord Byron, a romantic poet, brought a bear to his college dorm as a pet since dogs were not allowed. Aeschylus, a Greek playwright, allegedly met his demise when an eagle confused his shiny bald pate for a rock, dropping a tortoise onto it. Eagles employ this technique to fracture the tortoise's shell for consumption, but this instance proved victorious for the tortoise. William C. Minor, one of the writers of the Oxford English Dictionary, chopped off his hot dog, using the pocket knife he used to cut the bound pages of his old first edition book. I guess that's why they call it a dictionary.